Good morning. Merry Christmas, and I really mean it. It feels like Christmas. The snow is beautiful, but boy, is it cold.
It is.
Well, our meeting for our November-December combined meeting will come to order. And welcome to all of you and to our audience as well. We do have a quorum. A quorum is 6 for those of those in audience who might not know. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, we're 9. 5, 6. Overachievers. I like it. 9. We did very good.
I'm missing Wendy, but she's here somewhere.
Yeah, and Wendy is here. So, and I wonder if let's introduce ourselves. Are you okay to start?
Okay. I'm Margaret Hunter. I'm with the Myron Stratton Home.
Thank
Colorado
you.
Springs.
Colorado
El Paso
Springs.
County.
Carrie Schillinger, the Area Agency on Aging.
Dave Betzler, Northern El Paso County.
Betsy Ellerside, Teller County. Carol Parks, Teller County.
Marilyn Massey, Colorado Springs.
Francine Tremaine, El Paso County.
Jerry Novak, Colorado Springs.
Joe Ruth, Colorado Springs.
Joe Urban, Area Agency on Aging.
Now, our audience. So where should we start? I'm going to start over on our first row. That's you.
Laura Engelman, I'm with the UPCSD. Pat Ellis with Silver Keys. Kathy Lowry, Television Coalition. Nancy Stannard, Teller County. So Aldridge, High School Area Gretchen Bricker, High School Area Agency on Aging.
And we're introducing ourselves. The young lady walking in.
I'm Taylor, I'm Wendy's daughter.
Hi, Taylor.
And Marilyn's granddaughters.
I'm her grandma.
That's right. Power moment. It's
Oh, the power of Christmas. We're all together.
There we go.
And
Families.
Wendy, you came in.
Well, I was in the lobby talking. Big shock.
And her goal was to be here on time
And
today.
I was on time.
Were, I
I'm
know.
in the building, the rest of it.
Wow. Feeling the love. So, Wendy Farr in Colorado Springs.
Thank you, Wendy. And thank you all for being here. If you've had an opportunity to look at the agenda, are there any additions or changes that we need to make? Hearing none, we'll accept the agenda as unanimously. We have public comments. Are there any public comments, items that are not on the agenda that anyone would like to bring? This is your chance, folks, out there in the audience. I hear no one making big needs. Okay. If you have looked at the minutes of our last meeting, which was October 27th, do you have any additions or corrections to the minutes? No? Hearing none? Then
I move we accept the minutes as proposed.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded for the approval of the minutes. And by the way, Carrie, thank you for, as always, for the minutes. She's looking at me like a deer in the...
Not again.
Well, what you did was the minutes always end so well, and I just wanted to publicly say thank you for your efforts, because they come out clear, and the fact that we have no corrections at the meeting is really, like she says, it's a thumbs up. We very quickly have moved to the action items, and the first action item is the fiscal year 2016 carryover funding, and Dave Betzler and the TRS members have met and discussed this, and do you have the report?
Yes, I think everybody's got a copy of the report that's laid out on the table there. Essentially, we met on Thursday, the 1st of December. I'd like to thank, first of all, Lisa and Carrie for their help on setting things up, and Joe for participating, and Joe Ruth for being there as well. And we also at that time met Casey Partridge, who's the new finance person for, or at least in that new job, I think is what it is.
Finance manager.
And we got, the other thing I'd throw out to the TRS members, It was very, very helpful, I think, that everybody participated in that, and some really good discussions that we had. The approach that we took, basically, we looked at the four-year plan, looked at the priorities there, and we also looked at the spread, if you will, across the three counties. And we tried to look and make sure that the underserved counties, Park and Teller, were represented in this carryover funding, as well as El Paso County. There were 8 different categories that we looked at, and they're listed on the agenda item 5A, I believe is what it is. And it lists the applicants. There were 9 organizations that submitted, 9 agencies, and 3 for the program development area. And as always in a situation like this, you have the requests come in at a higher dollar amount than what the available funds are. So again, from the TRS perspective, that's where we really tried to follow the guidelines that we've been exposed to as far as that 4-year plan, and then also looking at the priorities. So with that being said, if you look at the second page there, it shows you the dollar amounts that we're recommending would be from the carryover program going into these individual agencies and their programs. Congregate meals was fully funded, which is, I think, one of those key things throughout the counties. Same thing with home-delivered meals. To the extent that we can, we're going to try to make sure that those, as well as transportation, are the emphases, if you will, continuing from what we've seen in the plans. Rather than going into a lot of detail about the individual proposals and the rest of it, I kind of open it up at this time if any TRS members want to make a comment on it, or if there are any other questions that people have.
I'm good.
I might make one comment on that sheet, Dave. It's actually a compilation of 2 things, that spreadsheet. It is the carryover funding as well as the FY 16-17. We had certain funds that were unallocated at the beginning of the year, and we said we were going to allocate them later. So the TRS, fortunately, was able to deal with both of those issues at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know, I think you touched on it, but I think it's important to emphasize that we took our long-range plan and the priorities, and we used that to help evaluate how we were applying the monies, because otherwise we needed to have some way to prioritize out the different requests. So that's how we followed along with the long-range plan.
And just piggybacking on that, in Part B on that second page of the handout, you can see the 1, 2, or 3 before those individual requests. So again, that's the prioritization that we're trying to follow as best we can.
And just to follow up on the importance of the long-range plan, we have a 4-year plan, and it seems rather abstract when you're looking at now and looking forward for 4 years to see where our goals and what our funding needs are going to be. But it really, that 4-year plan, as difficult as it is to project our needs, we really do follow that impact of that, the value of that 4-year plan. So sometimes it says, oh, we're just going to do a 4-year plan. Well, yeah, it does affect us each year as we look at our budget, our decision-making process. So I just like to add that to everyone and put a plug in for our future concern. And as we go through each of our meetings, we can think about what is it that in our community we believe is, of all of the needs that there are, and each one individually is the most important need I have, no matter what, for me, no matter what it is that's causing me difficulty, that at that moment is my priority 1. But we have to create a community perspective and come up with a agency and a community-wide 4-year plan. So that's just my plug for the importance and value of that. So thank you. Are there any other questions?
Comments?
Comments? From the
Whoa, 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 whoa. Well, I made my entrance. There you go.
I think that just tells us how difficult it is to make everything fit all at the same time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Well, I got you too. Well, I'm thorough.
That's right. That's okay.
There goes the napkin budget for the year.
Take a shower.
thing right now are napkins on our four-year budget. I just want you to know.
Yeah, we have to readjust our spreadsheet now to accommodate for all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Joe, did we make a formal motion then?
No, it comes to us from a subcommittee, so
Okay.
that is the formal motion.
Okay.
And if there is a second, I don't know if we have to have one, but is there a second to that?
I would second that.
Thank you, Wendy. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. No noes. I wasn't saying no, sorry.
Margaret just had a great question, though, that's aside from the actual voting on that. What year are we in the four-year plan? Like, how far are we into that?
Yeah.
I think 2018? Second year, 2018.
Yeah, so it was
We're
last
halfway
before
through
you
the
came.
Yeah.
Yeah, halfway through.
Yeah, it was a good question.
That is an excellent question. So it has been passed unanimously. We will now send this to the Pikes Peak Council of Governments board, and it will become an action item on their next meeting.
Next Wednesday.
And Joe will present that to them. And there is, just for the sake of everyone, they generally, if there is a specific question, of course, it's asked.
Thank you.
But it is usually, they take our recommendation unless someone on their board sees something that they would really like to have further explanation. So, in fact, they are really, in most cases, really honor our exquisite decision-making process. And the reason that, well, it is exquisite because we go to great details to document what it is we're doing, how we do it, and why we do it.
That's true.
Because this is federal and state money. It's our money. And we want to be able to be as fair and as proactive for meeting the needs of our seniors as we possibly can. So we appreciate the city, county officials that are a part of that board, our El Paso County, our Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. So I thank you for what you've done, and next step, and we'll be on our way then.
Great. And if I might add my thanks as well to the TRS, this is starting to sound like a broken record because I say it every time, but this is not your average volunteer group. There's a time commitment there that's above and beyond, and we really appreciate that. I also wanted to note that this particular document went into the board packet. We have to get the board packets out to the PPACG board a week in advance, so it went in as a draft document, assuming that there probably wouldn't be too much objection, and then it will be voted on next Wednesday by the PPACG board.
All righty. Thank you for that added comment, appreciate it. We have the membership committee report. This has been a busy month in terms of the background activities of our Regional Advisory Council. So Wendy,
It has.
there you go.
So, and for those of you who are not aware, I love the question that she had about what year we're in that four-year plan, and sometimes I think we all forget that not everybody's been around since the last four-year plan. So, in keeping with that kind of idea, let me just back up a little bit to explain a little bit more to our guests as well as the other newer members perhaps on the council. So we all have three-year terms, and then we are able to do a second three-year term, so a total of 6 years. And no matter how bad we want to stay, we do have to actually leave. Although evidenced by my presence, you can come back after a year. So, so it's been about 10 years total that I've been a part of this organization. And so as far as the membership, what we're looking at, and Carrie and I worked very hard at looking at the spreadsheet of when each of you came in, where you're at in your terms, how much longer you may have left on your terms, whether or not you want to extend off your first term, so from the 3 years and going on to the second term. And it does take some time and effort to figure all of that out as to where we are and how many spots we have open. So it came down to the fact that we had 6, possibly 7 openings this year based on everybody's change in turnover. And due to a lot of great work by some of our current members, Betsy, thank you for your suggestions and recommendations on people. We've had some stellar applicants. So it's probably the first time I've done this, and it's probably 6 years off and on that I've been helping as the membership, that we've had such an incredible group of people that we are able to choose from. And the first in my memory that we've actually ever had more people apply than what we needed. That's never happened. Carrie and I were like, what do we do? And so, first of all, let me introduce just very briefly each of the new applicants so that you understand that. Those who helped me, obviously Carrie and I did. Carrie's been fabulous, so kudos to her. That's right. And then Joe Ruth helped out with some of the interviews, as well as Aisha was able to do a lot of help with me as well on that. So we have 6 people. The first one is Cynthia. Is it Aki? Is that right?
Aki?
Aki?
How does Cynthia pronounce her last name?
I think it's
do you know?
Aki.
I think it's Aki.
Yeah, and she's.
We all stand to prove.
Yeah, well, and yeah. So, and her email address is not that last name, so that's why I was confused. So she's actually originally from Honolulu. She's been here in Colorado since 2000. She's actually been here to a couple of the meetings from an audience. She's asked some incredibly insightful questions, so we're excited about her involvement. But one of the things that we were really interested in is the fact that she is a registered dietitian and she's worked in a lot of public health situations. So very excited about that. We also have Nancy Stannard, who is from Teller County, and I will try not to embarrass her since she's sitting in the audience. Pretty new to what the senior industry, has available, but sometimes having a new and fresh sponge to soak up everything is always very exciting. We're grateful that she's willing to help serve and represent those in the Teller County area. But she's very involved with fitness and health, and excited about the possibility of taking all that knowledge and getting to learn more about how it can impact our seniors. Then we have Joyce Whittle. And Joyce, I wasn't surprised she wasn't coming down today. She's actually up in Park County, and is actually going to be able to represent sort of the Platte Canyon Bailey area, which, from what I remember, we've never had someone from that part of the county before represent. And we had some really great conversations with her during our interview. Joe and I, about that really is a unique area because of all of our folks. When things change, and as we all know, they try to age in place, but once they can no longer stay home, particularly in Park County, they generally tend to come down to the Springs to assisted living or other types of nursing facilities. They don't. That's the one area which we serve, that they go to Denver, and we actually do lose them out of our area. So it's a unique aspect that we thought was really interesting, and looking forward to how she might have some insight into what those residents over there need. And then we also have Barbara Cottle. I don't know how many of you know her, but she is the executive director of the Alzheimer's Association. And I won't go into detail about all of her background and her vast experience working with seniors, but to be able to represent in a different aspect, and bringing in some of those new information about dementia and maybe national trends as well, is one of the things that we were looking for. Excited to have her a part of it. And then I've got so many things here. And then we also have Bea Babbitt. She's actually a volunteer here at the AAA. I've seen her face on several occasions. I had no idea how incredibly fabulous she was. She actually was a professor at UCCS for quite a no, not
UNLV.
Oh, that's right, it was, yeah, she was in that, that's right. And was actually specifically training special education teachers. So she and I had a lot of fun to talk about there. So her understanding of what special needs is and how it impacts is, I think, going to be, again, a very a positive addition to our council.
And if I might add, she has been a volunteer now out at the front desk 1 or 2 days a week here as the reception area, so answering, and she knew how many calls she has taken during those last 2 years. How much? I don't remember, I didn't write
It was like 10,000 phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really interesting to be able to tap into why people are calling. What are the current needs? What are people needing? And that's an insight that having it here, current right here in the building, but also to apply that to the other areas, because those phone calls don't just come from our area. In fact, I was late talking to Mindy, and she got a call from South Carolina. So it's just interesting how it spreads out. And then the last one, as far as our sixth one, for those of you who've been on the council for a little while, you might remember Clint Cooper, who was out serving from the eastern El Paso plains. So I think he and his wife live in Calhan. Yeah.
They do.
And so his situation has changed. He'd been on the council and then had taken a step back and was interested in coming back and becoming involved again. And the fact that we actually have 2 people from the eastern El Paso area is pretty exciting. And we're looking forward to having him be a part of the council again. And on a side note, like I said, we had 7 people. Our 7th person, her name is Amy Harder, and she actually works at CHP with the RICO project for the Medicaid recipients. And this is the first time ever that we actually have a prepared person on deck, ready and waiting to step in if we should so need that, and that's a pretty exciting thing. So unofficially, we have an alternate, but for any reason, if things should change or stuff like that, or if anybody needs to take a leave of absence, for the first time, we'll actually have some ready to go. So that's exciting, yes.
Can I just comment on that?
Yes.
And Amy has agreed to attend meetings so that she is up to date on RAC business and AAA business, so that she can learn as she attends the meetings, and if there is an opportunity for her to fill a vacancy, she'll be ready to step in right away, and if not, she'll have a whole year of RAC meetings under her belt and be ready to come on board a year from now.
And it really is very beneficial for her position that she's serving for her job, and so it benefits all of us. So that we have those 6 plus an additional, just to have you be aware that we have an additional person. So as the membership chair, I would like to propose these 6 names, and again, let me just, so Cynthia Aki, Nancy Stannard, Joyce Whittle, Barbara Cottle, and B. Babbitt, and just in case there's any awkwardness, Nancy, would you mind stepping out into the hallway for a moment? I mean, just to make sure. Is there any questions anyone has of me about any of our folks at all?
Sounds like a very strong group of candidates. It really
Very
does.
exciting
Very
about
diverse backgrounds, and I think
variety
very
is
helpful for
really
everybody.
interesting, and besides that, again, this is this interesting, I don't want to say crop of folks, but I think for the first time that I have been involved in this organization, we have every geographic area covered, and that is very unique. So,
And, I would also add that for the very first time, we will have 2, in my 8 years at the AAA, we will have 2 representatives from Park County. And we've had 2 from Teller before. We've had as many from 3 from Teller simultaneously, but that didn't last very long. But to have 2 from Teller is also important, but that reach to eastern El Paso County, it's the rural area of El Paso, so it's really double coverage there as well between Phyllis and Clint.
Yeah.
So I would like to
That
propose
northern
that
Pasadena.
these new applicants be, I don't know, how do I say that?
Approved
By the council?
acclamation.
And is that just a vote, or is that a motion?
It's just an up-down vote.
Okay, so those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody not? No nays? Okay, excellent.
I'll go get Nancy.
They're
Yeah,
not-
thank you.
Not very sexually diverse.
You know what, actually, just a second, wait, Carrie. Wait a second, yeah. Actually, there was a decision made based on that issue.
Okay.
So Jerry, no, thank you for pointing that out.
I didn't hear the question.
So,
Repeat the question.
so I don't know if you meant it seriously or if it meant like as a side comment, but we don't have very many men on our council. And in the considerations that we had as far as who we had available, I will tell you that there's a specific reason why we have a third gentleman join in this year.
Enough said.
Yeah,
The
excellent.
other thing is, several other volunteer committees I sit on, they have actually a defined position called an alternate member that come to
Oh.
the meetings and sit there. We might think about in our bylaws of actually having something like that.
It's just never happened before, so. But you're right, that's why we were so excited about having someone who is willing to still come
Yeah.
and still participate.
Then those people are next in line when there is a vacancy, and it's, and they do attend the meetings, and they can actually participate, but not vote.
Yeah.
By bylaws.
And along with that thought, though, as well, Jerry, just because we now have this new group of people coming on does not mean that the membership committee's time or work does not, is concluded. Because if you do have people who you still think would be good applicants, we still need to know about them now, sooner rather than later.
And I
Yeah.
have one more comment to add along of missing pieces in our membership, along with the gender balance on our rack. We also have, with Aisha is going off, which I'm going to speak to in a moment. Aisha is black and represented that particular ethnic population very well as that two-way communication that we value so much. Cynthia is Asian, so that's one, but she is only one in terms of our ethnic obvious, so we have a real lack of representative from our ethnic population. And I think if we can do anything, is you as members or in the audience, I would ask you, please, to keep this in mind, because we tried valiantly to get a broader view representation. That didn't happen this time. I'm hoping the next time we can really move forward a more balanced representation from those arenas, okay?
Although I will say that we did get more balanced in our aging because
my
everyone was
question.
over 60. So,
Yes.
yay! All of our applicants were over 60. So that's a good part because our bylaws require that half of the council be over 60 years old. And so normally we have to skirt that balance a little bit, and this is nice that we have that. One final thing, Lisa, that's what.
Thank you. Back to the alternate. In the bylaws of some of our other committees, an alternate, if you were to not have a quorum, then your alternate would be able to come to the table and help you
Get to
reach a
that quorum.
Yeah. Do some
if
business.
you needed it. I don't know if your bylaws allow for that or not, but it's
Well,
We don't have alternates in the bylaws, and I'm not going to be a wet blanket, but it's going to be perceived that way. Any bylaw change that we at the RAC level want has to go all the way up to the PPACG board. And the last time we tried bylaw changes, what they gave back in the way of feedback was, your bylaws need to be exactly like our bylaws in their structure. So if we can find that in their bylaws, then I think we're golden. If we can, it might be a tough sell, but it's worth doing the research, so I'll get going on that.
So, moving on then, the one last thing that, the end of the year also, has, as far as membership committee, is that it is from that committee that the officers on, for the next year are proposed. And so again, with more conversation between Carrie and myself and looking at that spreadsheet and who's on and who's not and who's got how much longer and the terms that they're at and where they're at in the terms. We, as the membership chair, I would like to propose our new slate of officers, which would be for 2 years. Because Jo is coming to the end of her 2 years as the chair, so let me clarify, that's why we have to make a change. To propose that Dave Betzler be the chair for our council, that the first vice chair would be Marilyn Massey, and that the second vice chair would be Margaret Hunter. And I don't know if we have any questions about that, but other...
I would offer that all of them have been advised that their names would be cast out onto the floor for this. Nobody is being blindsided, and they have all agreed, even if there might have been some hesitancy, which, by the way, would be understandable.
Yeah. So I think we're all aware of some of the responsibilities that are necessary to serve as the chair, because we've seen Jo do it well. As far as the other positions, let me just clarify that too. So as vice chair, really that is a position where it steps in if ever Dave would dare to want to go on vacation to run those meetings. And I can say probably a few times over the years I've seen where we've had a situation where we've had that. And then if ever there's a reason for both of those people to be out, not present, then the second vice chair would step in. So just to let you know what that means and how that fits into the rest of us with the council. So, yes.
I'd like to know who of the council is going off.
It's next on the agenda.
That's next on the agenda.
Oh, okay, great.
Always
Okay.
one step ahead.
That's right. So with that, again, I just would like to propose for our new slate of officers, Dave Betzler as chair, Marilyn Massey as the first vice chair, and then Margaret Hunter as the second vice chair. And those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Excellent. We have complete faith, and again, would like to just offer our thanks to those who are willing to serve. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Margaret. And then we apparently will do some more thank yous in the next step here for those who will be leaving. So I'm done. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you to Wendy and the membership committee for taking the time and the effort and putting in the effort to talk with both the candidates and also working on the officer side of this thing. It's very important, rather than just letting the organization kind of drift or anything else, to have somebody that takes on the responsibility and really handles it well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. Okay.
We have 2 members going off of the rack, and I have certificates for both of them. Aisha Young is not here. She was planning on being here, and the weather, I think, has gotten in the way because she had planned on being here. Aisha and her daughter. Aisha has a very busy life, and we've been graced with the presence of her little daughter to our meetings when she was an infant, and we all just adopted her. And now she's in school, but they didn't have school this morning. So I have a feeling that may have impacted on her inability to be here. But I will give her this certificate. We have a certificate for her, and give her with our great thanks. This has been a real effort for her. She is a gerontologist and works extensively with the African American community here in Colorado Springs, and we were enormously blessed to have her knowledge and her communication with the community that she interacts with, both professionally and as a member of that active community. So we thank her, and we will be giving this to her. Our other person going off at the moment is Betsy Anderson. Betsy, come on up. There you go.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Do you need me to open it?
This has been great to have you here. Your expertise, both as a caregiver, we don't think of you as a caregiver necessarily as you sit at the table. But that's who you really, that spirit and that love and that dedication and the enormous difficulties that presents to you on a daily basis, as well as opportunities. There's another thing you need to know about Betsy. Well, come on over here. There's another thing you need to know about Betsy. Here, come sit. Come sit.
Okay.
My kids will. Yeah, I know. My kids would say, "Oh, there's Mother rearranging the photo again." The other thing that you need to know is that Betsy's mind is a mathematical mind. And I personally want to say thank you to your mind. Because she has been an enormous asset. So we
Turn the
take,
picture over so you don't get the back of it.
Betsy, turn your certificate around. There you go.
There you go.
there, I took my coat
Right
off.
side up.
Yes, oh, we're good. Well, I'll stop talking while we have a picture. Okay.
Where Lucy didn't know that her phone was going to be in.
Confiscated.
Nicely
Wait,
done.
one last
Nicely
thing,
done.
one last thing.
Glad it was
As
out.
she would, as we would do that, she was on the TRS committee.
Yes.
And her value of your knowledge and your detailed notes. Last year, you weren't able to attend the meeting, and she sent the most detailed notes.
Absolutely.
Of what her thoughts were, why they were, how they represented Teller County, and how they represented families in a larger effect. So we are losing someone that has a personal knowledge, and I just want to acknowledge that, Betsy. Thank you. Okay, now, is there any, I just had a thought, if I could just finish this, just another thought. You know, in introducing our new members, we did not really introduce ourselves. We only said we were from wherever we happen to address is. But we didn't say who we were, who we are, what we bring as a background. Would it be appropriate that we just introduce ourselves again and what we bring to this, to our,
If you'd like to.
what do you think?
Certainly.
Is that something we would like to hear? I see the new member who.
Nancy's saying yes, please. Yeah. One question that David asked, and I don't know, and so with the farewell to Betsy, I don't think we were going to mention it then after all. So the current officers, Carrie, you're going to have to help me on this. Joe Ruth has been serving as our chair. Thank you, Joe, so much. So she's not going off of the rack, but she is no longer going to be the chair. And then who is our
It's
first?
next to me.
Carrie, I don't even know who's the first search.
Well, Gail Carley was,
Oh, that's right.
Gail Carley was the
First vice or
the
second?
first vice, and
Okay, yeah.
was Betsy, were you the second
Yeah.
vice?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, it
and
was
Betsy
Betsy,
was the
okay.
second vice chair.
So obviously they were used a lot. So I will, Joe, thank you so much for all that you've done the last 2 years as your role, because you have led our meetings, you have guided our meetings, you got us back on track when we got astray, and which we do that, what? So thank you. We appreciate you so very much.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. This is really, has been really fun for me, and I have enjoyed it. For me, I just want to say one thing about my role as chairperson. I have envisioned this as an opportunity for us to build tighter networks, better communication, more opportunities to get together, to use the positive nature of who we are and who we value in our lives. Obviously, it's the seniors in our community, and that has been my primary goal or role. And I don't know.
She also brings humor.
Yeah, you've got.
I think I've said enough. It was very nice
Yeah,
knowing you all.
I know.
And I look
Watching
forward
some
to
YouTube
joining the group in just another spot. Joe Urban made a really good observation that perhaps our individual introductions of ourselves and our roles might be more profitable if we wait until next month when we have our new members here.
Yes.
So that people, so that we can all share that. And Nancy, is that an okay thing for you to wait?
too, but that's
You still are curious now.
curious, but
I get it.
we'll wait till next month.
Well, during our Christmas lunch, maybe we can do a little bit of that personal interaction and connection, okay?
Works for me.
Along that line, maybe it'd be worthwhile to try to get maybe a short paragraph from each of the members, so that it's printed as well. We can talk about it, but at least there'll be here's the key things that each member is bringing to the organization. That might be worthwhile for the new members when we meet in January.
For us to
For
have
the
that.
existing members now.
Yeah, and
we'll come up
how
with
do
it.
you envision that being?
Just like a paragraph?
Yeah, a short paragraph, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 bullets, something like that, just bullet statements. Okay, these are the key things that you're bringing to the area, whether in mine it might be Navy
And then-
background, project management, senior advocate, and up in the monument area, whatever it is, but just very short bullets rather than a long resume. And that way, at least it's something then we can share with all the new members. We'll get a quick snapshot,
And come out with the,
and then we can ask them to do a similar thing down the road.
oh, okay.
That make sense?
Is
I think
that,
that's an
that to
excellent
Carrie?
idea.
send it
Did
to
you
Karen?
send that to
I'm
Carrie?
actually looking at some of the applications.
Yeah,
from
I'll
our
send
people.
out-
There's actually, when we all did an application, there's a section that might just be an easy way to look at those and see if that,
Whatever, if you have something special you want to write, or Carrie, are you open to that?
Yeah, and Dave and I can get together. we can do it a number of ways, including an email blast requesting information. Got applications to draw from, and there's this funny thing in my office called a telephone. So I can pick it up and ask people questions.
Old technology,
Yeah,
right?
so
Fancy
we'll make
that.
it- We'll figure it out.
All right, thank you for that valuable suggestion, Dave. We appreciate that. We do have an addition to our agenda that we always have, and that's Joe's report. So, please.
Yeah.
It wasn't on there.
I missed one meeting and apparently lost my relevance.
Well, you gotta be faster.
Do what they say.
If you ever had it.
Thanks, Jerry.
Heat it up.
Yeah, I did. Just wanted to highlight a couple things, or a few things real quickly. Many of you have followed the adventures of the Joint Dispatch and Call Center through the, I'm looking for a historian, there's nobody here old enough. I think it's been 12-plus years. Oh, but you have been around for 12 years. This is a project that apparently started a little over 12 years ago, and hopefully will come to a major milestone as of January 3rd of this year, when we open up a center at Mountain Metro Transit that will house the 4 main providers of specialized transportation services in the city of Colorado Springs. So we're extremely excited about that. It's something that's been worked on for a long time. It's an evolutionary process. It's not the final point that we will get to, but everybody that does the services will be in the same room and will be able to share rides because of being in the same room, and we'll be able to share expertise and knowledge and all the other things that go with it. So it's a big milestone, and it's a credit to all the providers that were involved in that. There's a lot of diverse interests, needs, board directions, a lot of disparity that was brought together just by a real cooperative group of people. So we're very excited about that, and in particular, I would thank those organizations that were involved in that. One or two of them are out there in the audience right now.
And where is that going to be physically?
It will physically be located at Mountain Metro Transit's headquarters, which is on Transit Way. It's right across from the entrance to Evergreen Cemetery. If everybody knows where that is.
South Hancock.
South Hancock, right. And they will, well, actually, it's Transit Way. They have their own street, so.
Of course they do.
It's an opportunity for us to move on to the next step. which ultimately we hope to be a place where any senior in the city, in Pikes Peak region, can pick up a telephone and call Peak 633 Ride and get a ride to wherever they need to go.
Where will the community, like, how will the community know about this? How's it getting out there?
We'll let Pat talk about that if she wants.
That's a good question. All of this was done with a grant called VTCLI, Veterans Transportation and Community Living Initiative, as well as another grant source called FASTER. I don't know what that stands for. And the specifics of those two grants were to purchase software for a joint dispatch and call center. And then there is an additional grant which is for marketing. And so we will be starting to reach out during this year with that marketing money. A lot of it's going to be word of mouth, and part of how the individuals at the call center script. So when a new person calls in, giving them that number so they start to know that. We know there's going to be some transitional challenges because people are used to riding with Ambla Cab or with Silver Key or Fountain Valley. So they want to call the same numbers. So the phones will eventually be set up that those distinct numbers will roll into the joint number. It's going to take a while. It's only taken 12 years to get this far.
Thanks, Pat.
Did you say how much blood, sweat, and tears?
A lot.
A lot.
And really, I appreciate that Joe has really pushed this forward. Silver Key was in a very vulnerable position because we signed the grant, and the outcome needed to be a joint dispatch and call center, and it wasn't happening. And I do appreciate, Joe, how you pushed that through, because we needed to be accountable to the funders, and it's hard to get everybody on the same plate.
It's been in the works for so long, I feel like, so, yay.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a big milestone. And we hope that it is built in such a way that it should be somewhat scalable. I know there are other folks who are interested in becoming involved with that project as we expand the territory that it covers. So we know that in its current format, it's very expandable, and then eventually we want to get to that point where everything's in the same place. The much anticipated No Wrong Door RFP has been actually issued almost to the week, a year after it was originally said it was going to be issued. So Carrie might give a real brief synopsis of that.
So we're all both doing the happy dance and are terrified that now we actually have to put pen to paper or key to keyboard. But we're working with our consultants at Keystone Policy Center up in Denver, Lorez Meinhold, who used to actually be an employee of the Colorado Department of Healthcare Policy and Finance, HCPF, who has issued the grant, so we feel as if that's an ace in the hole in some regards, and her colleague, Michelle Paterino. They came down again a week and a half ago. Am I, Pat? Oh, no, you weren't there. You weren't able to be there. For another face-to-face meeting. We have some follow-up. I have a conference call scheduled next week with them. And they are rolling forward. We are still funding them to write the response to the RFP. We're still working with this wonderful collaborative group that's been slogging through this since the summer of 2014 together, including Silver Key and Rocky Mountain Options for Long-Term Care. The Independence Center, we have buy-in at the very least from El Paso County Department of Human Services, which is huge because that piece of financial eligibility determination for anybody receiving a Medicaid waiver is key to the application, to the application, making it past the first review, I'm sure. And I know I'm for, the resource exchange, and additionally, we're trying to make some inroads into Teller County and connect up there with the Department of Social Services, but that's been a little tougher going. We also have the Community Health Partnership Group, which currently is the RICO, the Regional Care Collaborative Organization. That is going to morph and change within the next year as a new funding stream comes down, so they may still participate, but they might look a little different. We also have Aspen Point at the table, so we really feel, I think, as if we have a strong collaborative group down here. And one of the things that our group brings to this application process that we feel makes us a strong candidate for funding is that we are pretty much the only location in the state of Colorado that's going to be applying that does not have any co-locations within the organizations. So in other counties, the Area Agency on Aging is part of county government. We don't have that here. The single entry point, Rocky Mountain Options for Long-Term Care, is also sometimes part of county government. Sometimes, as in Greeley, the single entry point and the AAA are the same organization, again, under county government. So the fact that we have all these players who are committed to this process is huge and hopefully will work strongly in our favor. Then the funding, which was originally stated to be for a 3-year cycle, will start July 1st, 2017 and run for 1 year. So we'll have some dollars and 1 year to try and prove that this is a sustainable program that can be used to benefit all the folks who are trying to get streamlined access to long-term services and supports in El Paso and hopefully also Teller counties. It seems almost ridiculous at this point, but HICPUF has spent a tremendous amount of time and energy running their internal processes, and they've been burning the clock, and they've been burning up some dollars as well. So I think we're cautiously optimistic we'll get the grant, but then after that, it's really going to be a mystery as to how it plays out moving forward.
Thanks.
Please editorialize, Joe.
No, that's good. That's good
What's the dollar
synopsis.
amount on that one?
Sir?
What's the dollar amount on that one, roughly?
Vague.
It depends on how many
Capped or-
pilot sites are awarded. It's currently stated as 3 to 5, and I believe the money for those 3 to 5 is about $900,000, somewhere in that vicinity. So it's for all of them. Yeah, it's not a big chunk of money. It was a $2.1 million grant, and a little over half of it is gone. Medicare open enrollment. If you didn't get that done by yesterday, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. It ended yesterday at midnight. Our preliminary numbers are such that we feel like we served roughly the same number of people we had last year. I don't know if everybody remembers, we had a huge increase in the number of participants coming through our door or calling in. Last year, we served roughly 1,600 people. Preliminary stats are such that it looks like it's going to be pretty close to the same thing when we get done this year. We are very gifted. We have one professional statistician and one college professor who dealt a lot in statistics, who are volunteers at our front desk. So we will have a full summary of that report coming out probably next month. One of the things I did want to note is we're seeing some increased demand in certain areas of our services. In particular, our voucher program has just exploded over the course of the last few months, and so we will probably be making some changes to kind of rein in, for lack of a better term, that rapid growth. We have funding available, but probably at our current rate, we would not have enough funding to go through the end of the year with the number of folks we have. So we'll have some correspondence going out to the folks in those programs, but it's a huge demand area. It's a very good area in terms of meeting the goals that the Older American Act puts forth, that it's consumer directed, it keeps people in their homes, it saves Medicaid money, it does a lot of really good things. But at the same time, it's very popular right now, and so we're going to have to kind of find sustainable options for that. And then the last thing I want to mention, which is also kind of a milestone, the Strategic Action Planning Group on Aging plopped their report on the governor's desk on the 29th of November. It is online. If you just Google SAPGA, It's not as easily online and we would like it. It's not. It should be the first thing on their homepage, and you have to kind of dig down through their reports to find it. There's an executive summary in there, but it's a great document, lots of work by 23 of the brightest people in the state, and we'll see what comes of that. I think the goal is that as the next 3 years progress, that there'll be some legislation come through to support the recommendations that that particular committee put forth. Probably the main one that pops out when you read that report is the very first one, that they are recommending an executive level, cabinet level position in the governor's office to be the eyes and ears of aging in the state of Colorado, which would be a huge component. If you could get the ear of the people in charge, that's probably the most important thing. Questions for me?
Yes, what is the website?
I do not know. It's a Colorado website, so it's a Google-based website, and the URL is about that long. If you just Google SAPGA, SAPGA, it will take you to the Colorado Commission on Aging website, and they have a link to that particular document.
You can also go, the joys of a computer, to colorado.gov/aging strategy. I don't know why it's not /SAPGA, but that's the homepage for the Strategic Action Planning Group on Aging.
Last Friday at the El Paso County Ethics Meeting that meets here in the morning at 7:30, Ann Meyer actually had a copy of it, so she passed it around. It wasn't for us to keep it, for us to look at. And I took a picture of the website on the back page, so if anybody wants it, because I knew I'm not going to try to write that whole thing down, so I just took a copy of it. But it's what Carrie just mentioned. It's that colorado.gov/aging
strategy.
And it looked very well written, but I only got a cursory glance as it went around the room, so.
I think a lot of folks anticipated that they would come out with very specific recommendations. They're pretty broad strokes. The specific recommendations will come in the form of legislation that comes out of the houses.
And let me just give a shout out to the Keystone Policy Center, because the folks who are working with us on the No Wrong Door application are the ones who helped SAPGA draft this report.
I've got a plane to catch. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Oh,
Same to
bye,
you, Jerry.
Be careful. Hope your plane leaves.
Francis?
Joe, based on all that's on our plate right now, I'm thinking that it's going to be quite an active legislative session here coming up. Am I right or am I wrong?
That's correct. More than likely, we're going to have people asking for the moon, and we've got enough money to get to security. So it will be an active session. I think it's the thought of that particular group that they want to keep these issues on the front burner. They know very well, they're very cognizant of the budgetary limitations in this particular session. So we don't know what they're going to get, but they did want to put all those ideas out there just so that when the money does become available, we've got the ability to say, hey, we've been on the list and this is important.
Might we also kind of consider sending representatives from our group on certain bills and legislation that is coming forward to lobby our
Absolutely.
legislators?
I know Dave has been, and he may be getting ready to talk about it, I know he's been very active in terms of following some of the work of the Colorado Senior Lobby, which is a tremendous group in terms of putting forth senior issues. Very well organized. If you're not on their email blast, you ought to be, because they put a fellow by the name of Steve Grunn puts out a legislative thing called Senior Space that basically updates you on current bills, and he spends a good portion of his time at the Capitol actually talking to legislators and following what's getting ready to come up. As many of you know, the process is really just rocking right now. They are writing those bills as we speak, and then they'll be flinging them out onto the floor fast and furious in those first few weeks in January. We hope they're the first few weeks in January. There's been kind of a process the last few years whereby if you want a bill not to get a lot of scrutiny, you introduce it the last day of the session, and
still
hope it gets through.
Yeah, you still get credit for entering the bill, but yeah, you don't have to work on it.
Yeah.
And Francis, to answer your question a little bit more specifically, our policy and communications manager here at PPACG tracks all legislation that might apply to any of the PPACG departments, and will keep Joe in the loop. And additionally, Rich Morrow, who is the lobbyist at the Denver Regional Council of Governments, will often advocate, because they have the largest AAA in the state, he will often advocate on behalf of all the AAAs and lobby for us at the state legislature. So we sort of have two avenues into that entire process.
One of the ways that I might be able to help in that way is perhaps we can get the support of of a couple of the county commissioners to lobby for us on particular items. So keep that in mind, if you will. That might be a help. That might just throw a little bit more weight towards our influence.
Absolutely.
Just a question, sort of along the lines there. Is there anything that would, in the bylaws or anything else that would prohibit two or three of us from meeting with a commissioner or two, one-on-one, to sort of say, hey, these are the things that are going on across 3 counties here as far as seniors. We just want to make you aware. And then to the extent that they can influence whatever's going on up in Denver, is there any stipulation or any restrictions on that type of behavior?
Absolutely not. You are constituents of their districts, and they not only do you have the opportunity to do that, I know that most legislators that I've talked to appreciate the opportunity to hear from informed people.
Okay.
Generally speaking, the county commissioners take all of their advisory boards and they assign certain liaison responsibilities to a specific commissioner, and that perhaps is the one commissioner. Now, they will be doing that in January with the new board coming on and that type of thing. So that is probably the one commissioner that whenever we find out who's the liaison commissioner to our to the RAC, that's probably the one person that we should start out with, and then include any other commissioner that perhaps might just have our interests at heart and on their agenda.
Okay, that's great, Francis. Thank you.
I know that the Colorado Commission on Aging yesterday issued a letter to the, well, it has to go through the clearance process for the department, but it will eventually end up with the governor and both houses in support of the work of SAPCA and what they're doing. So it's going to get fairly broad-based support, but I think there's a lot of realism out there as to what the 2017 budget looks like.
Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said that this was set up originally by the governor. He was the one that proposed a 1-year term for this SAPCA organization, correct?
It was set up through legislation, and it was actually an 18-month process that culminated as of the end of November.
Right.
And so it was basically a blue ribbon panel that met for a year and a half to come up with these recommendations.
Yeah.
Other questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other, anything else that we need to speak to we left out? If not, I'd like to remind you that our next RAC meeting will be January the 26th, 2017, if we can remember the new year. It'll be in this room at 9 to 12. And if there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn this part, and then we're going to...
Do we have any community information?
Oh, I'm sorry, community information.
I did actually think about that, and I think this time of year, there's not a lot that's going on that I'm aware of. Do you know
Yep.
of anything, Lucy?
No.
No?
The Festival of Wreaths at Palisades tonight.
I don't think I'll put that in the minutes, because by the time the minutes get anywhere, that will be over.
And is there anything? No? Okay. Seeing none, we will, after we adjourn this meeting, I will ask you all to exit stage right for me, stage left for some of you, so that we can rearrange our tables for our little holiday get-together at our party. So if you all will just take your papers and go, they will make very fast dining room arrangements here. So,
And if you have any food items that need laying out, or if you need serving utensils, we have some in the kitchen, we have some in the drawer over here under the counter as well.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
yes,
So moved.
There you go. Second.
let's eat. All those in favor say, let's eat.
Let's eat.
Let's eat.
Okay.
I don't even get to vote.
Thank you.
No, I have not. It's before you.
So long. I'm so ready.
Oh, absolutely. I still,
There's no rhyme or reason. If there's room to go on that.
And,
I was just thinking it was sad.
No, table counter, I don't think it really matters. Wherever you like, Lucy. Thank you. Well done.
Will she laugh about this?
She knows it's coming.
Oh, okay.
I've got to look at that.
My mom
It's just,
passed away because of Alzheimer's dementia and the rest of it.
It is, and he's doing well. He's doing well. He's on a clinical project that is actually